Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we roll right past the Ark of the Covenant and crash into the unknown crates before us. I wonder what the unknown crates are in Jerry's life. I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Jerry, who knows, Porter.
And today and all this week, I'm especially excited to welcome Jennifer Levasseur, space history curator at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum and all-around very cool person. Welcome back, Jennifer.
Thank you for that great compliment.
Hooray!
I appreciate being back. Thank you, guys.
You legitimize us.
Yeah.
That's not fair for
Wow.
her, I think, Jerry.
Now I've got a lot of pressure on. Thanks, Jerry.
You're official.
Yeah, I'm an official government. I don't have an official government passport, but I have some official government identification. So yeah, maybe I'm a slight bit more official than anybody else you're going to talk to.
I bet you know where to go if there's a nuclear war, don't you? You know where like, the bunkers are.
There are people who come to the Air and Space Museum convinced that we know where the aliens are because they think they're buried underneath, like in the. Well, we're going to talk about it this minute. This whole the warehouse thing. They think that's what the Smithsonian looks like, and that's where the aliens are. So there's a lot of really good connections to Smithsonian storage in this minute. Strangely enough.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
That denial sounds oddly suspicious.
Yeah, it's pretty rote.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you there was something more exciting. We might have some alien toys, but nothing more than that.
Well, today, in addition to alien toys, we're going to be talking about minute 16, which begins with Indy chasing Spalko in a Jeep, and it ends with Indy fighting Dovchenko in the carbon freezing chamber.
Don't I wish we were talking about carbon freezing chambers? Sorry.
That would be nice.
My Star Wars thing's going to creep in a little bit every once in a while, I'm sure.
Oh, we all have our Star Wars things. Yes. I have an important announcement to make before we start. I think I am boycotting this minute.
Oh.
Wow. Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
I don't know how to handle it. I'm having a hard time. And I know you guys love and support me. And I just maybe we should just start talking and we'll see what happens. But if I disappear suddenly, I don't want to be a jerk, but I also don't want to hurt myself.
I
Yeah,
think
Tom
this
is-
is
Tom
about
is
that
still
Ark of the Covenant stuff,
Furious
isn't
about
it?
the Ark, yeah.
What?
Say what? Huh?
Well, I have a question for you, Peter.
Okay.
So maybe we'll just start talking and we'll see exactly when and where it derails. I know you have a mild anxiety disorder. We're on season 4 and it's still there.
Uh-huh. It's not getting
Stenciled on the left-hand side of Spalko's truck is one lone star, and it makes the truck very asymmetrical. I want to say, does that bother you? It kind of bothered me.
It did bother me watching the minute, actually, yes.
Yeah,
It's funny you bring that up.
I wondered, is that because is Spalko a 1-star general, or would that truck belong to a 1-star general or a 1-star colonel? I don't know.
Having
Jennifer, what do
some
you think?
having some relationship to a retired 1-star general. I don't think the star on the vehicle has much to do with who's inside the vehicle. I've always assumed that it's just symbolic of the military in some way. I mean, I think you could find any military vehicle with a star on it. I presume. I mean,
That's what I thought.
I was thinking
But
about the vehicles in this too, but that's definitely not where I was going with it.
But if you look at it, the star's on the far left-hand side, and that's it. Like, why wouldn't they put it maybe right where you'd open up the trunk or something?
Well, it'd be on
Right in
the
the
hood.
middle?
I would think.
It
Yeah,
probably
on the
is on the
door.
hood, but
Oh, yeah.
it's just but it's on the far left. It looks really strange. It's one
There
of those
might be
things
one on each wheel, but they're spinning, so we can't tell. Like right in the middle of the hubcap.
Yeah, but there's
But it would
that
just be like
back
a big
door.
blur.
The more I stare
Yeah.
at it, the weirder it looks.
It is weird. It is kind of weird. Yeah,
you
we'll
know,
have to-
throughout this minute, I mean, one of the things I notice as a historian is, and I really appreciate, is just this sort of attention to detail, the set decoration type stuff. I would imagine that can't be a mistake. I don't know. There's a
Yeah.
lot of like really well researched stuff in these couple of minutes that we're going to talk about over the next few days, and I don't know. I have a hard time believing there's not some historical precedent for that they're drawing on.
Yeah.
Like for instance, the groundhogs talk. They have for a long time. It's a lot of great attention to detail. The groundhogs go,
Only if you poke them in the belly.
only if they just made blueberry muffins.
So I will say about one of the things I had brought up before about storage is kind of a big part of this is that they're driving through this storage building, which Area 51 or wherever this is taking place. And I think I talked about this a little bit last time in terms of museum practices. Stacking boxes on top of boxes or crates on top of crates is just a horrible idea.
Oh,
I don't know how they did it back in the 1950s. I can imagine it was pretty bad, but you usually don't stack those things on top of each other. So I have a little bit of a hard time believing that would have been done back then too. There's zero organization to this, it seems. So, and museums are all about organization and numbering. So certainly for today's kind of museum expectations, you'd have racks, never stacking things on top of each other. Whatever kind of devices are in there that suddenly explode upon impact. I don't think we put those in boxes. I think we put those in very secure racks, in buildings where you have to have like multiple layers of authentication to get inside. So
Okay, let's talk about those exploding crates for a minute. So, Indy crashes into a wall of, secret government boxes, and it explodes, and it starts raining feathers.
Oh, I thought it was. I
Or is
thought
it
they
just
were
like-
filled with tumbleweeds.
that's what I thought.
No, it's
too.
feather.
yeah, the nation's first tumbleweeds.
I thought for sure that someone found the golden goose. And that was it. It's like in there with the Ark of the Covenant, and it's like, yeah, that's the golden goose. And there's a whole backstory about that. Like, well, you guys ever read nursery rhymes? Like
Well,
It
you
is
know-
just strange. It's like a truck collides with these boxes, and whatever's in them, it just looks like an effect. And it's too bad. It doesn't like.
It looks
we're
very
used to
CGI.
Trucks crashing through stuff, and it looks like a crash.
Yeah, I
You
have to agree with you on that. And
blows a hole through something.
I mean, I've opened a lot of old, and I was in some old crates today, actually, out in our storage buildings. And we use things like foam now, but we've opened some pretty old crates. And this is sort of like the kind of, it almost looked like the material you'd get when you, that green papery stuff that's in the bottom of Easter baskets. Is all I can think of. It's that kind of packaging material. I don't think I could ever imagine us. I mean, it'd be highly flammable for one thing. You wouldn't want to put it inside.
Oh yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Right. Well,
Well, it's almost like this is flammable because when he drives through them, they explode, and like the guys standing on the other side of the crates go flying.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they were packed with air or something, like compressed air.
It's
and
like
a little
maybe
bit of
they
like
store all
packing,
those, those
sawdust
things
or
Amazon
something.
sends, those plastic bags filled with air.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, it was just they just packed something with so much of that the air just all exploded.
I
and
was
sent
so
everything flying.
curious about this explosion. I looked it up too, and I don't know if this is the sequence that it was talking about online, but it sounds as though there was a mistake during this filming, that somehow one of the explosives didn't detonate and it landed on the seat next to him.
Oh wow!
Oh,
I
weird.
hadn't seen
Weird.
that.
Yeah, I was a little
Wow,
surprised
there's a crate next to him.
the fact that he's driving the vehicle is, very Han Solo kind of maneuver
Yeah.
to do. I mean, this is not, this is totally in his
so
character.
What if like Lao Che was smuggling magical chickens? Because I thought about
And
just
they got
connecting this.
confiscated.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's one of the other, one of the other times we see feathers.
Mhm.
Are you guys saying we don't see
That's true.
feathers?
I saw it
mean,
more
they
as
could be
like
feathers. I thought
I'm
it was
seeing
tumbleweed.
like Ralphie's dad in the crate tossing up all that packing
There you
stuff
go.
yeah.
going for the
There
the
you
but,
lamp.
yeah,
I thought it was like a beautiful foreshadowing of the game of chicken that we see later in this minute.
Well, I got something here for you, Tom.
Okay.
And you're my friend, and I got your back, even though I disagree with you. I think the Ark being here is kind of cool. But
What?
since we have as you might think, a counterfeit Ark or a counterfeit warehouse, we also get some counterfeit Wilhelm screams.
Yeah, there are some there.
They're like
by the way, I
close
did
to a
not
Wilhelm.
understand like about half of your question, but yeah, no, there are some screams that are they're like weird, like actory, high pitched things that sound like they're supposed to be Wilhelm-ish.
Well,
Yeah.
But they're not. They're
the
not
one
Wilhelm.
is, I swear, the one is a bird squaw. I'm not making that up. I know I'm really hammering this feather thing, but if you listen back again, when like one is, I think that's one of those high pitched screams. It's kind of, it goes, ah! Like it's right when he kind of turns the truck around.
I just listened to
Yeah,
it.
you see, I'm not. Everybody makes fun of me, and then they go back and double check.
Jerry likes birds.
No, you heard it right. It's in there. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't sound exactly like a bird, but you're like, yeah, but that's not human.
It's like a prehistoric bird. It's like
yeah, it
something
is.
out of the Flintstones
Yeah.
or something.
Who's to say?
Well, we get like a really weird edit at second 14 because Indy violently shoves Spalko out of the truck, which is one of his signature moves. That's what he does. But then they immediately cut to her running around the corner, almost like none of that happened.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is weird.
Yeah, the whole
yeah,
thing's sort of
It's just strange.
like Indy smashes in and blows up all those crates, but then he immediately is turning, like when you see him driving through them.
And
Yeah.
I will challenge anyone right now. Look at second 14.
Mhm.
Is that Kate Blanchett?
Oh, I'm so glad you noticed that. I don't think that's her.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Wow.
I'm so glad you noticed that, Jennifer.
Well, I think
That's not-
That's weird.
I must have gone back on that second, like, I don't know how many times to think, is that her stunt double? Who is that? Because it looks, and then her hair, I mean, of course the
Yeah.
girl notices this. When you see the back view of her hair is perfect, but her hair is so
Oh,
not
yeah.
perfect in the second, like literally the half second before.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
It's
I'm
a
only Millhouse when he
very.
gets hurt.
It's just it's completely incongruous. Just kind of all of it. And that is not her.
But thanks to movie magic, none of us noticed.
Or maybe that's just someone else.
Yeah.
This is someone else. She's getting off the floor.
Maybe her double went over and took the Ark of the Covenant while she was busy chasing after Indy. as we see, like as she goes running in that scene, or her double goes running, the camera pans back to show the broken edge.
Okay,
of a
I'm going
crate.
over here. I'm over here.
And we see just the edge of the Ark of the Covenant. And I kind of like this because sometimes we get so fixated on what we think we need that we go right past the things that would actually really change our lives. So maybe it's a good time to reflect on being mindful and present. Like, stop and examine the crates of your life.
Well, one one question I have about it is for you two.
Mhm.
Is the Ark of the Covenant autoluminescent? Because it's glowing, but it's
Yeah.
still in the crate.
I think we established
Like-
that it was before autoluminescent.
I think
you're
so.
right.
There's no
Yeah, I
light
mean-
source on it.
Yeah.
Even I think when they're closing up the original crate, when they're packing it in the Well of Souls, it seems to me like it's reflecting on itself, and the light is kind of hitting the lid and stuff like that. So
Yes.
it seems to me like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's got
Yeah.
some power of its own to emit light. Wow, that's one hell of a of an object to have to deal with.
Does Indy know that the Ark is there?
I don't think so.
Or vice versa? Does the Ark know that Indy is there?
Oh, maybe it's trying to get out and say hi.
Let's
Hey,
Or
remember?
it's force sensitive, right?
we did, Jennifer, we did talk about this quite a bit, and whether or not the movie, we like how the movie opens with the Ark of the Covenant and all that. What are your thoughts? We had some very, very strong opinions about kind of how it's treated, and Tommy did. I mean, he's gone now. What are your thoughts here about the arc and how, especially even how it shows up in this minute, your minute?
Well, I don't personally have. I think I'm with Pete on this. I don't really have too much of an issue with it because it does show up in Crusade when he's going through the under the church cavern area, whatever you want to call it, the catacombs, and I think it's
Sure.
sort of similar to that. It's a nice callback. It's a little bit of sort of fan servicey kind of thing, and so there's this it's kind of slightly like, oh yeah, I get it, but I don't know. I have to say I like it. Just I think because it's a nice refresher in a way. I mean, it's sort of I see this movie a little bit now that I've actually watched the whole thing again and the first time in a very long time. It kind of made me think about my experience watching The Force Awakens with my kids. Is that they have not seen the Indiana Jones movies yet, but I think if they knew the sort of time span between the first movie and the last movie or this movie, they might be inclined to feel good about the fact that, oh yeah, that's right, that's that arc. It went into that big gigantic government warehouse and look, there it is. I don't know, I think it's kind of cool actually.
So,
Nice,
but
yeah.
why do you think it debuts or has a cameo? Like Yahweh has a cameo in the movie. Why do you think they do that here?
Good question. I mean, it seems like the
is
right
it
place
just
to do
is
it.
it just it's just like a fun callback, or do you think that it actually has a place in the story, in the plot?
Good question. I don't know. I don't. I guess it sounds like that's kind of a leading question, and you're looking
Yeah.
for something here. I'm afraid I'm not going to have anything for you. I think
Well-
I don't know. I think it's more of just a fun callback. That's how I look at it. I don't. I'm not. I'm not convinced that. Thinking about what I know about the production of the movie and how it all came together, I don't think there's a whole lot of thought going into it. It's just more of a, hey, we're in a big building, let's put the arc over here.
Yeah.
But not a lot of thought going into it, eh?
Yeah, I know. Who'd thunk it?
Well, Pete, what do you think? I mean, I will say this. In the next few minutes, Indy does seem to get away with some things unscathed.
Yes, I
Oh,
remember
that's
that.
very good point.
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a little Yahweh alley-oop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, I feel like we've been very positive about this without Tommy. I'd like to see if we could dirty it up a little. Tommy, you there?
Hey guys, I miss anything?
Nah.
How did Falco get out of this one? Is she gonna be all right?
Wait, I want to know. Has the Ark of the Covenant been there for? Has it just been sitting there for 20 years? 20 odd
Well,
years?
if this is Area 51, no, because Area 51 was built in the 50s. So that couldn't have been Area 51.
So
when they
you're
took it
saying-
in.
Okay.
I think they just forgot about it, and eventually that someone shipped it out here.
Absolutely. I know, yeah.
So
Speaking as a museum curator, that absolutely would happen, is that if you put something in storage, you may not come across it again for 20 years. Or if you do, it's after you've already moved it. So, yes.
Well,
Uh-huh.
so
Oh,
is
nice.
this? See, now I'm even more confused. Is this building, Jennifer? I guess for you, is this building the building that we see at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Well,
I mean, does
this
the
is
movie
definitely not as
that?
cool looking as that matte painting that was used. So no, I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to say no. I'm not an art authority on art, but no. I have to go. I'll agree with Pete on this. This is probably one of those. They've moved it around 5 times because they forgot what the heck was inside that box. It's kind of like a good example. From my own experience at the museum, actually, about 5 years ago or 4 years ago, there was a big story in the news about Neil Armstrong finding a bag, or they found a bag at the bottom of Neil Armstrong's closet after he died. They didn't even know what it was. And inside were a bunch of objects, and the bag itself all came from the lunar module when it went to the moon. He had
Wow.
moved in between all of that. Like, he didn't stay in the same house from the time he came back from the moon until he died. He moved. So clearly the bag had been moved, but he had completely forgotten that the bag was there. Like,
That's
Wow.
hysterical. I'm just imagining
Yeah.
Neil Armstrong on the moon. Like, I hope nobody's looking. Like,
he was definitely not that kind of guy.
shoving in his pockets, padding his pockets with moon
Yeah,
rocks.
no, definitely not hit. That was what we tried to establish is why would there have been
Yeah.
this mysterious bag of stuff in the bottom of his closet, and his widow found it, and nobody knew what it was, and so we got involved in trying to figure it out. And I think we've all probably gone through that when you move. Sometimes you get to the bottom of a closet and you find, I've always hoped that at the bottom I'll find that missing orange snake that belonged to my Yoda when I was a kid, but it's probably never going to happen.
I'm just imagining, God, when am I going to be on the moon again? Like, grab all the gettings. Good. Well, that's a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
This is a lot. Tommy's boycotting.
What? Did I hear my name?
It's
Hey, fellas.
is it? Can you tell us how it feels to boycott this minute, Tommy?
I feel okay. I'm a little queasy.
Do you hate this minute?
but
Minute 16. That's what's going
You know,
on.
it's too bad I don't hate this minute. I just wonder why it's like, I don't know, it's like 5 seconds shorter than all the other minutes, and I can't figure out why. It's like they just slice something out of it or something.
Well, let's
Maybe they had their reasons.
Let's let Tom feel included, and we'll move on.
I'm trying. No, I'm trying to
Thanks, Pete.
tickle the eel out of the cave.
That's disgusting. That's
My
disgusting,
stance
Jerry.
on whatever you
Tom,
guys are talking about is well
keep that eel in the cave.
established in past
This is a family show.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've traveled down the wrong path here, guys.
I'm sorry. I want the minute to have one of them explosion crates with feathers everywhere. So what do you think of the Ark of the Covenant in this minute, Tommy?
Boom.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to get a boom because Indy's now racing in this Jeep, and Dovchenko is following him. Or no, it's actually Mac and Boris are following him. And
No.
One
They're
question
facing him, I think.
oh, right, they're facing
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mac turns to this guy and says, "Don't get clever, Boris. You don't know him." And then they go to this weird, like, know him.
Yeah.
Know
Yeah.
him.
How many
Like this
times can
ghost
he
know
say
him.
that?
So well, he goes, "You don't know him. Know him." It does a weird skip. It goes, "You don't know him. Know him. You don't know him."
He says it a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know him. Know him. Know him.
Yeah.
But then how does
it's
Mac
weird.
know that the guy's name is Boris? Are they friends, or is he just making like a random Russian name up?
Well, not to spoil it, but
That's
there's a
funny.
good chance he already knows these people.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we get
Yeah.
the feeling that he does too in the next minute.
Well,
But I'm just curious how deep his ties are to the Soviet Union, because like there are different levels he can know them at. Like he could be just a guy that they're kind of on the same side, but he hasn't worked with this particular group, or this seems to indicate that he works with them pretty closely.
Or is he just
Maybe-
using it
Yeah.
as sort of a derogatory term, like everybody's Boris?
Right.
Right.
Like
everyone's-
Boris,
yeah.
isn't it Boris and Natasha, the two characters? I mean, that could just be slang. Who knows?
Or he could have heard his name while he was in the trunk for like
yeah, that's
40 hours it took him to drive from Mexico.
maybe he has like a a mild anxiety disorder, kind of an OCD thing where he has to say, "You don't know him, know him." Like he can't.
Well, it is weird. I mean, doesn't he? I know he says you don't know him and then know him, but then it's you don't know him, you don't know him, you don't know him, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, it says it's you don't know him, know him, know him. You don't know him.
Oh, okay. But he does
Yeah.
come back to you don't know him though, right?
He does at the very end, but he says
The
know
whole thing
him,
is
know
weird.
him
It's-
twice.
it's-
Yeah.
However he says it, it's really kind of forced and
It's like a weird,
weird.
ghost, like a Scooby Doo ghost,
Yeah,
like haunting the place.
It's like an affectation.
it is. It is.
It is. It's not because it's not an echo.
Yeah, it sounds like an echo though. It's weird.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be him saying it over and over
Yeah.
again because
Yeah.
he's trying to instill in them that they're
Yeah.
about to drive into this.
I
guy.
actually think
Yeah.
he's going, "You don't know him," and then he realizes that Boris isn't going to change courses, and so he gets really freaked out, and he kind of trips over his own Noam.
Yeah.
Like I think that's
Or
what
is he
happens.
trying to get him to know him? Is he like, know
Yeah.
him? Like, get
What
to
better
know
way
him
to meet
fast.
somebody and know somebody than to slam into him?
Can somebody say Noam again?
Know him.
Noam.
Know him. Noam
Noam.
Chomsky. It's Noam Chomsky.
Noam.
Look out.
This feels like, looking at the one star on the back. Saying Noam just now sounds
Yeah.
weird. You don't know.
There's a lot of
Noam.
weirdness in minute 16.
Next time I say
yeah.
that, wherever I am in the world, I'm going to say it 3 or 4 times. Well, you know what's weird? Max says, "Don't get clever, Boris." And I'm wondering, like, why is clever pejorative here or negative? Like, why doesn't he say, "Don't be stupid, Boris"?
Clever often is sort of,
Yeah,
it has a pejorative spin on it.
he's
Yeah.
like,
You know,
don't get clever, and you're like, well, what's clever about, careening down the road as fast as you can? I feel like he's
Yeah.
not getting clever. He's,
Where is
I guess
where is
Boris
Mac
would-
from? Is he American or British?
He's British.
He's British.
Yeah, he's British.
That just sounds like
Yeah.
a normal turn of phrase for a Brit. I mean, just to say
Yeah.
use the
Yeah.
word
Yeah,
clever
maybe.
just sounds
Yeah.
classic 50s British kind of
Yeah, that's true.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
true.
yeah.
It's like clever is what somebody is being when they think they're being smart, but they're actually not,
Right.
or something.
But what's
Like
fascinating
Boris
is
would think that he was being smart by trying to play chicken with Indiana Jones, but he shouldn't be clever because he's not going to, he's not going to win that
what's
game.
interesting is the one who is clever is Indy.
Sure.
Indy's really
And
clever.
he doesn't know what he's
here.
doing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Indy jumps out of the car or out of the truck, and he jumps onto a lamp hanging from the ceiling just in time, and his car smashes head on into Boris and Mac's car, and and also a Jeep smashes into the back of Indy's Jeep, and I don't know how any of these people are alive.
No,
Right.
they're not.
Yeah,
Wearing
No,
their
they're not
seatbelts.
alive.
How does Mac
You
survive
have
that
seatbelts.
head-on collision?
Well, he
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
They
Or
just
Boris, for that matter.
Yeah. You know what's actually
Can
really
we just call
kind
him
of
Boris from now on?
what Boris?
It'd be fun if that's not his first name. Do we
Yeah.
know that it's his first name?
his name might be Harry Truman. Like they all have all their name tags
That's
are American
true.
presidents. Maybe they actually are named Harry Truman and
You know what's
be
what's
awesome.
Franklin
really
Roosevelt.
if you look at second 39, Mac is just standing there holding his head.
Well, I couldn't tell if he was holding his head or if he's holding his ears because Dovchenko is shooting and he
guy's
doesn't like
shooting
the
right next to
sound.
him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really strange because I'm with you, Pete.
is.
There's no way anybody's surviving that. I mean that they don't have airbags.
No,
Yeah.
and if they're both going 30 miles an hour, I mean, you're hitting a brick wall at 60 miles an hour. With,
Yeah.
they didn't have seatbelts in the car. and
Yeah.
And then there's
There's no
another
way.
smash even after that.
They could have
Yeah.
had airbags, but Indy smashed through them all in those crates.
Yeah.
Those are all the airbags going off.
See, I was wondering, did Indy take Mac because they were friends? They worked together. Did he take him to get a drink from the Grail at some point? Like, do you think
Yeah.
Indy ever periodically just goes back to Petra and he's like, you know what, let's just have a sip, kind of recharge? That's how he's so nimble.
Yeah, my white blood cell count is down. Let me see. Doctor says I'm a little anemic.
Yeah. I've aged a year.
Yeah.
Let's go back and have a sip.
I that's as good of explanation as any.
I can't even quite. I watched it a bunch, but I can't tell how Indy actually gets to that lamp. Those lamps seem really, really
Yeah.
tall when he was like swinging on it with
Yeah,
the
they did.
whip a minute earlier.
Yeah. I'll say this.
I guess he's Indiana
There's
Jones.
a lot I've had a lot of challenges watching this movie so far, but I really do like the action scene. Like I watched this scene
Oh, yeah.
over and over again where Indy he jumps on the lamp, it swings upward because of his momentum, and then it's a beautiful sequence. The trucks
Yeah, but
crash, and then he goes up on the rafters. It's actually a great action sequence.
I think, though, that this is the scene that really proves to me two things. One, you can only kill Harrison Ford with a lightsaber. and two, that the Soviet Union did a huge disservice to itself by not actually inventing one of those for world domination. I mean, they tried a bunch of other stuff and it didn't work. I don't know why they didn't try lightsabers. It would have, clearly you can kill Harrison Ford with one. Why not try it for this too?
There's one. I'm being rather picayune here, but the one thing about this action sequence that drives me nuts is Indy kind of comes sliding down on a rope at the end, and he just lands right in front of Dovchenko.
Yeah, Dovchenko.
Yeah, and it's
He doesn't slide
kinda-
down a rope. He slides down a chain. There are so
Yeah,
many
metal chain.
chains in this
Yeah.
place. It's ridiculous. I don't
Yeah.
know where
Chains,
this
yeah.
place is, but I've
You're
never
right.
seen so many chains outside of Lowe's.
It's like a Berlin nightclub.
It's just kind of, it's like he has such an incredible escape, and then he kind of comes to this like deflating drop.
Yeah, what was that all
Yeah,
worth?
wait,
What did you do
that's
that
all
for?
I'm saying.
The guy's about to beat you up.
Yeah, and he lands right in front of him, and the guy's like, he's like kind of ambling over to him. He's not
I
even
kind of
like
wonder why he didn't
racing.
just stay up there.
Yeah, why did he just stay
well, with
up
the
there?
ambling, I'm really confused about Dovchenko in this scene because when Indy's running across those girders at the top, and Dovchenko is running below and shooting at him, but then he pulls a complete Yosemite Sam, and when his gun runs out of bullets, he just throws it to the side. Like he doesn't even keep he just throws it away.
Yeah.
Doesn't even throw it at Indy where it might do some harm.
You guys were mentioning the Ark earlier and any influence it could have. And one of the places, this is one of the places I wonder that he running across those beams, he seems to have an unnaturally good balance. But didn't he have
Yeah.
a huge balance problem when he was crossing that bridge in Last Crusade, going over the invisible bridge? Wasn't he
Oh,
kind of
yeah, he
wobbly
did.
and like holding his hands
Yeah.
up? Where did he gain all of that great balance all of a sudden? Because that's like a Ninja Warrior move right there.
But he was wobbly going across the letters in Last Crusade. He was wobbly going across the stones in Raiders of the Lost Ark in the Chachapoyan Temple. He's always been a
That's
little
true.
wobbly. Yeah.
Well,
That's the Ark, maybe.
Yeah.
he's mature.
Yeah.
Maybe he takes yoga now.
Yeah. He's got like a balance board he
Yeah,
practices on.
Pilates. I think that, I mean, if you're going to show me the Ark, then the Ark is now influencing the scene. That's what I'm saying.
I'll buy
Yeah,
it.
I'm
I'll buy it.
standing.
Jared's
by.
cutting out.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, your microphone.
So yeah, Indy kind of slides down this chain and lands in front of Dovchenko, who kind of then decides he's going to run and tackle him. And they slam into a kind of a utility closet with a really beautiful glass window on the floor.
I have to tell you, my notes
'Cause the
actually
Army knows
say,
how to design
what the
stuff."
H is this glass floor? I've
Well, it's weird because it's like a light well into the room below, but it's a light well set in a dark utility closet.
Yeah, it's
I
inside.
think for sure. I think this is one of them Frankenstein rooms.
It looks like that. Yeah.
No, what it really is your tax dollars at work.
Yeah. Is it
It's like they had
possible
to
that room is actually? Is that like maybe an open air space, but it's nighttime, so it looks like it's inside? Like that normally there would be sunlight coming in through that glass floor thing.
Maybe.
I thought that
I don't really buy that, but I'm
for
wondering.
some reason, I
The
mean,
whole layout of everything here is problematic. Like when we
Yeah.
get to the next
Yeah.
minute, we're going to find out that this was poorly thought out. I think where they put various things.
for
in
some,
relation to each other.
I feel like that case that they land on is sort of a viewing case where they would like splay out the alien, and then they would look down through the
Like an operating theater kind of thing.
Thank you. That's beautiful. An operating theater. And then like for those who are worried and they look down the hole, the skylight, on top. And that's how they
For those that are worried. Well, I don't know.
it's a
I wanna
it's
see,
a
but-
really it's a really it doesn't make any sense. I don't know what the hell kind of room there is or why there's a skylight there.
Yeah.
And then also you're like, so if that's a utility closet, like, oh hey fellas, it's a utility closet, but the floor is glass.
Yeah, don't jump around in there.
Exactly. Just mind where you put the mops.
yeah. So yeah,
Well, it's weird. Like Pete, you made the carbonite chamber connection. Like I was kind of thinking that too, that like it feels like that Luke and Vader lightsaber duel on Bespin, where they go from like one place to like another place and stuff. But it kind of makes sense in that because it's all weird space stuff. You're not like, oh, who would put a oscillating chamber next to a whatever, like this is just like, we can see this is like a utility closet with a glass floor and we don't know what's going on. So it's just weird.
But somebody went out of their way to put like a glass sarcophagus that they land on.
Well, that glass, the window also looks a little bit like the cockpit window on the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, it does.
Ooh.
That does.
Yeah.
Or a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, TIE
It
fighter.
does look more
yeah.
like the Millennium Falcon. You're right, actually.
Which is also the same shape as the cupola window on the International Space Station, by the way.
Oh,
Take a look at it
Oh, very
sometime.
nice.
It's pretty
Wow.
sweet, yeah.
Wow.
I'm
Really
assuming
are
it
all living
has
in
some
the
actual
fever dream.
engineering. There's some engineering reason for it, but
Nah, just nerds.
that too.
Yeah, so they come smashing down on this sort of carbonite slab looking. I'm not sure what this is. Like it's like a table. It's like a light holder.
It makes me think of a pot rack hanging above a stove.
Oh, that's exactly right. Yeah. that's
Oh,
totally
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And yeah, then the minute ends with them fighting a little bit on top of it.
I just looked up Boris, and that's not his first. Like, he doesn't have a first name. They just list him as Devchenko. So I'm excited that maybe his name isn't Boris, and that Mac
No,
was just calling
Devchenko.
him
That's not
Boris.
Devchenko.
Wait, who's not Devchenko?
Boris.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's a
Boris
different
is
guy.
just
Different
the
guy.
In the
driver.
car.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Oh man, I thought that was. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was still gonna call him Boris.
Boris, yeah.
Where was Boris in that scene? Where was Devchenko in that scene then?
He was in the Jeep, or the truck that runs into the back of Indy's car.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I think
Well,
he's
that
a hot
explains-
I
pursuit.
like you really did boycott this minute.
I'm all flummoxed.
That is a hell of a violent crash for all of those guys. I mean, maybe Boris was the one who took all the all the damage, like everybody
Yeah.
else. Because Devchenko gets out and he's fine and he's running. You're like, there's no way that's happening. And then there's no way
Yeah.
Mac's getting
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Maybe the arc is just indiscriminate. It's just sending out good vibes to everybody.
It's possible.
The what?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of sending out good vibes to everybody,
Hey.
coming in over the wire, this just in from Professor Christy Porter. Did anyone notify Belloc's family when his head exploded?
Depends on if he had ID on him, I suppose.
Yeah. But then I got sucked up to heaven or whatever. So yeah. I'm gonna
Why
say
the-
no.
You don't think Indy did? You don't think Indy like called his dad and was like, "Hey, just want to tell you about your son"?
I know you guys had a rocky relationship.
You kind of feel like though maybe Indy and like knew Belloc's family at
I
some
could
point.
see that.
Like-
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
You could send him a letter.
Or you think
Yeah.
he told them, like, I just want to let you know, he went out of this world the way he came in. Straight from the skies. Hell of an archaeologist he was.
It's a heck of a birth.
Ew. The sky just opens up. Whoa.
Well, on that note, yeah. Jennifer, thanks so much for being with us. Is there any place you'd like to send people or anything you'd like to tell people?
Yeah, there's I can tell you a little bit about what's going on at the museum these days. We're undertaking a massive renovation of our downtown mall building museum, the one everybody comes to visit when they come to DC. So half of the building is closed right now, and we're going to put in all these really awesome new exhibits starting in just a few years. One of which is called, I will highlight right now, called Nation of Speed, which is all about going fast, which is something I know Indiana Jones loves to do. And it'll feature an artifact I think might be in Indiana Jones's future here in this next couple of minutes. So,
Wow.
Ooh, that's exciting. That's awesome.
Just to give you a preview of what's to come. And We'll have our sort of most important part of the revitalization of the building is we're going to be putting in the Destination Moon exhibit, which will be our big Apollo exhibit. It'll sadly open after the 50th anniversary, but I would definitely encourage everybody to kind of take a look to see what we're up to during the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon mission. There's activities going on in every part of the country, and we get to play a little part in that, and we'll be putting Neil Armstrong's spacesuit back on display soon. So
Wow.
lots of activity.
Cool.
going
Awesome.
Yeah, double check
Very
them
cool.
pockets.
Yeah. Who knows what he left in there?
Yeah, that's awesome. And if you want to, I guess we don't really have a Smithsonian level museum, but if you want to check out our website, you can see some of our greatest hits. This is basically what we left on the closet floor. You can find all of our past episodes. You can find evidence of Han Solo's fever dream, which I think plays pretty heavily in this minute. And you can learn how to contact us and how to join our Patreon, our weekend show as well, at indianajonesminute.com. And after you do that, please come back here Wednesday for minute 17 of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Boris?
What do you think of this minute, Tommy?
I thought these 57 seconds were really good. Well, exciting.
You really stuck with it. Proud of you, kid.
Stuck with what?
Tried to rile you up there. Yeah.
Chicken feathers got in his eyes.
I couldn't get you to come out.
I'm safe in here, Jerry. I'm safe.